Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Before we get started, I was going to kind of read through our role as a board and kind of the format of the meeting today. We're the 2025 Board of Equalization and Review for Union County, and we have been appointed by the county commissioners to hear any and all taxpayers with respect to concerns or complaints regarding the valuation of their property for tax purposes. Property owners appearing before the Board of Equalization and Review have the right to a fair and equitable hearing. The Board of Equalization and Review has been charged with ensuring that the proper legal principles have been applied in a valuation dispute for tax purposes. So for today's meeting, you've got the podium here, and the clerk will call your case, and I believe we'll be locating the property on the monitors here so everybody can see the property. And you will present all of your information first, okay? As you're presenting, unless we ask a question, the county will not be asking you any questions, okay? So after you present your information, the county will present their information, and we ask that you don't ask the county any questions at that point. So when the county finishes presenting their information, I will come back to you for any additional comments you'd like to make. The county will also have that opportunity, okay? The board will rule on the case or table it and inform the taxpayer when it will be. The board will rule on the case or table it, and if we table it, we'll inform the taxpayer when it will be reopened. The taxpayer will be notified in writing by the board's decision. By statute, the burden of proof is on the taxpayer to demonstrate that the assessment is erroneous. If there's not any questions from anybody? If you have a cell phone, just make sure it's on silent so we don't have any interruptions, and we'll get started, okay?
Okay. Hearing number 1, parcel ID number 04081005. Kenneth Magnum and Judith Smith.
Hi.
Good morning.
I know that you probably are thinking, why did she give me all this paperwork? But I'd rather give you too much than not what I need to. Okay? What we wanted to talk about today is the rollback taxes. Somehow, some way, they're saying we owe taxes from way back when. We weren't exactly sure why. The property that was in question with that was sold in 2015. So I don't know. Like I said, first of all, I don't quite understand why. And secondly, we had a lot going on. We also had farm use tax credit. And then for the other property, the 6023 Dudley Road, we had farm use tax credit for about 11.1 acres. And my mother passed away, and we were not aware, because we were not able to get the mail from the tenant that lived there. We were not aware that we had to refile for the farm tax credits. Mama was really sick the last year of her life. We didn't go over paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So I was completely unaware and left. I'm the administrator of her estate, as you see in some of those papers. I only gave you the first 2 pages of her will. The rest of it was really didn't matter here. But we're just not sure why we would be taxed on rollback taxes for something when we didn't even own the property.
It's been farmed the whole time now.
Oh, and the property at 6023, the 11.1 acres has been farmed for years and years and years, like since 2009.
Landon Thomas works here.
Do you know Landon? He farms, they farm that land and have since, what, 2009 or before that?
Probably 2007.
2007. So, anyway, we're just asking your consideration and your lenience here to, my mother's estate had already closed. I put a paper in there too to let you see that it had been put in the newspaper multiple times, and her estate has been closed, so we're just trying to see if we can get this figured out and why it was charged, and then, you know, what we can do about it.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm an amputee, and I don't know how I'm gonna pay them at best, even if it's normal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He lives on the property. It's a
Okay.
21 and a half acre place. 10 acres is his. The rest of it basically is mine. So we are putting in for the handicapped, disability type thing, but that has nothing to do with this meeting, right?
Okay. No, that wouldn't have anything to do with today's meeting, with what you're
Right.
appealing today.
I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, all right. Let me see if members of the board have any questions.
Okay.
For you, okay? Bob, Jim? Okay. Mark?
I'm waiting for the county.
Okay. Let us hear from the county, if you don't mind, okay?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So do you want me to sit down?
You can, whichever's more comfortable for you, but yeah, if you could, yeah, take a seat, and then the county will present from over here.
Okay, huh?
Well, so you'll be coming to the podium here. How you doing, Travis?
Good, how are you?
Fine.
So, good morning. So, this is farm program. Way it works is you get in the farm program, and you continue receiving that benefit. Once that acreage comes out, you have to go back and pay rollback taxes, which is 3 years prior and the current year. So that's where we're at. Miss Mangum, which is their mom, had passed away in September of 2023. And so we mailed them out an application in October because they have 60 days from the date of that death to get us a new application back. We mailed out an application October, and it was due back 11/5, November of 23. Didn't receive anything back. So we sent out another final notice. We sent out a final notice at that point in January of 24, due back in February of 24. Never heard anything back from them. So we mailed a rollback letter in April of 24. And what we do on those is it's just letting them know that there is a rollback coming if we don't hear anything from you. We didn't hear a response, and we hold it for 60 days. Once that 60 days was up, we generated the rollback bills in June of 24. And then, so we still didn't hear anything at that point. So later in the year, probably November, December, I got a call from Ms. Smith asking about how all this worked. And because she had gotten, from my impression, a call from delinquent collections asking about the back taxes. So she ended up submitting an application on December 30th of 24, which is, since all these taxes were levied in 2024, if this all goes through. So we sent a denial letter on December 31st of 24, and she appealed that decision on January 14th of 25. So all that being said, if you were to accept a late application, we would release all the rollback taxes, and we would adjust her 2024 tax bill.
Okay.
The only reason it was removed from the program is because we did not get any response back on that when we sent out the new owner application, which we do have to have when something like this happens.
Okay. Questions? Mr.
No,
Ashbrook?
I seem to understand what transpired and understand their situation, and also understand what the county did, but it's a late kind of penalty thing, and
Right.
we'll have to deal with it like that, but
Jimmy?
I have a question for the complainant. Ms. Smith, Smith,
Yes.
what took you so long to reach out to the county?
I was not even aware about the farm tax credit or anything. And as I said, we were not able
No,
to.
I mean, when you got information, be it a letter, a phone call, what was the delay in reaching to the county?
We never received any of that other information. It went to my mother's address, and someone was living with her, taking care of her, and we were not able to get the mail from them.
When did you first realize there was something wrong? Was it the phone call that the county spoke about? How did you know that there was a problem? When did you first find out?
Didn't you get something in the mail?
I got something, but the problem with being, the homeowners association had the mail. So.
No, not talking about that.
Oh.
What prompted us to get involved?
Oh, we got a call.
So is that
He got a
phone
call.
Yes, sir.
The county
Yes, sir.
kicked everything off?
Right, then immediately I started,
Okay, and when was that phone call again?
I'm not sure when that phone call was made. It was made by the collections department on delinquent taxes. I'm not sure when that phone call was made.
Can I, Mr. Chairman, can I provide some clarity?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
the collection staff would have started calling, making phone calls after January 5th of '24. I think I heard the date January 14th, somewhere in that time frame.
that was for this year, right?
Right, because there were 24 tax bills, so they would have started making calls after the delinquency date this year.
So January
So
25.
they got a phone call on January 25. So, and also to add to what Travis was saying, this application can be considered as a late application because it was filed prior to January 1st, 2025. Had it been filed after January 1st, you would not be able to consider it. But as of, it was filed December 30th, so it made that year-end cutoff. We just didn't have any meetings up until now, so that's why this is being heard today.
Understand?
okay. Do you have any further questions for the county? Yeah.
No. Well, thank you. Mr.
Sure.
Thank you.
Like I
Bob, do
said,
you
we
have any-
apologize.
Okay. As I said earlier, any further comments? Ms. Mangum, correct, is that Smith?
As soon as we were made aware of these delinquent taxes, that's when I started working with Travis and trying to figure out what we were doing, why we were getting this, et cetera. Now, Mom didn't die until September 11th of '24, or
23.
23, sorry. September 11th of '23. So, getting through the holidays, I did not do anything. Then getting the attorney, getting all of the paperwork done, getting my administrative paperwork done, letter of administration. All of that was coming about the time that they were calling to see about back taxes. And I said, well, I don't understand. I paid her taxes, but I paid the current taxes, just didn't know about these rollback taxes.
Okay.
So, does that kind of answer?
Yeah, we got it.
As everybody
We got it.
knows, it's hard to lose your mom. You don't have the right state of mind for a little while.
Understand?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion
yes.
that we accept the late?
So I have a motion for us to accept the late application.
I will second that.
Yeah, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion's carried and it's taken care of.
Thank you
Okay.
so very much. Y'all have a wonderful day.
You too, thank you.
Thank you, Travis, for all your help.
So next,
Can we leave then?
yes. Okay.
Travis
you
has
both.
Travis has been a big help, too.
He's amazing. Thanks.
Hearing number 2, parcel ID number 07060-091, Slavic Evangelic Church Emmanuel.
Okay.
I'm not going to say your name because I'm going to
Thank you.
butcher it.
You're good.
Sorry.
Good
Thank you.
morning.
Good morning.
Yeah,
It's a little bit intimidating to be in front of a board like this, and
But we try to keep it as informal as we can, but we got to have a little bit of order here. So.
I was a little bit encouraged by words from Travis when I talked to him, and a preacher in church when he said, we have an advocate for us when we go to heaven.
Right.
And sorry about that. And I realized he told me that you guys are advocates, my advocates.
Right.
I appreciate that. It's going to be a lot easier for me to speak to you as advocates. My name is Vasily Zhushma, and I'm the president of Slavic Church Emmanuel, currently in Hamby Bridge, Indian Trail. Our church was in Mecklenburg County for longest time. We had a small building there. We outgrew it. And in 2016, we bought this land in Hamby Bridge for the future church building. I'm here to appeal the 2024 tax exemption for this church. And when we purchased that land, about a year later, we received the first tax bill. And I personally came to the tax office, and I talked to the people in the tax office. I said, we have received a tax bill. I think the churches are exempt. What's my next step? And I was told that since this is not our place of worship, it's just piece of land that church owns. Could be investment, could be anything. We can't really exclude this from taxes unless there is a worship building that's built on that land. So going forward for the next X many years that we own that land, we used it for the purposes of our church growth. We had a lot of different events that we couldn't do in the other place. We cleared some space around that property and mowed it and used it for different events. And we pay taxes, $1,500, I think on average per year. In 2016, that was basically when we first had the dedication of that land for the church building. I included some of the pictures. I have videos and pictures. We have books of pictures for life of church, pretty much 3 years. I included some of those pictures with dates and stuff, how we used that land and what it was for. And you all, I think, should have that copy as well. So that land has been used constantly for different gatherings. We began the church construction in 2021, and that's when pretty much we were affected greatly by COVID because everything was, instead of a year construction, it took us 3 years. Everything was doubled in price. It really threw a monkey wrench into the whole situation. We finished building in 2024, and I think January 30th we received our occupancy permit. That's when we officially been using that building as our place. We moved in from the other church that we sold. We had an agreement to stay there for a year. We ended up staying there for 3 years. The church that we sold it to, they were helping us with those extra 2 years staying there, and it worked out miraculously, thanks God. But when we moved here, everything was moved here. All the events, literally everything that the church does. The whole year we been in church. On January 25, I believe January 14, I received a phone call. And it was a lady on the other side of the line, and she said, "You owe taxes. You're delinquent on your taxes." I said, as far as I know, IRS never calls anybody on the phone. I think you're just a scammer. She goes, no, I'm not a scammer. You owe taxes. I'm like, where are you from? She goes, I'm from Union County. And I said, taxes for what? Because I own a business, I own a house, I have responsibilities for different things, and I figure it might be something that's been missed. And she said, no, that's for church. I said, church is exempt, and as far as I know, we already have a place of worship in place. We should not be getting any taxes. She goes, well, you better go to the Union County and figure it out. So next day I was here at the tax office, and they showed me a bill for 2024 tax. It was, normally we paid $1,500 for about land tax, and this bill was about $45,000, or 44 something. And I think we have a copy of that there as well. We did not expect any bills, tell you the truth. We were not looking for one, and we had no any official letter of warning. And I realized why. The church that we were staying at, we sold it, we moved to this church. Even though we had the locked box where all the mail was picked up with the key at that church for our address, and we were picking that up regularly, we have never received it. Even though we did receive a different bill for personal property from Union County. Yes, from Union County. But that came into the new address. That bill for the tax, 2024, came into the old address, which is, it's okay. We should have gotten it somehow. We didn't. So that kind of put the 50 cents stamp on an envelope, kind of threw all this puzzle into unsolvable thing for me today. Instead of 50 cents envelope being sent to the right address, it didn't make it to me. It kind of created this $40,000 tax liability that we did not expect it and know we will be paying it. So on the 14th, we received the phone call. On the 15th, I was here to figure out what's going on. We're not trying to blame anybody. I think everything was done from the county standpoint, everything was done right. We can't really blame mail people that they didn't deliver. They probably delivered. I don't know where it went, tell you the truth. My point here is to not necessarily blame somebody that communication didn't happen or something, is to ask for your consideration. We have applied on the 15th of January. We applied for 25th year for the exemption and 24th. The reason we didn't apply for it because we were under the assumption, and maybe that's my assumption that was wrong, but I was here at the tax office when we first bought that land, that we will be excluded from tax as soon as we build the worship place on this land. So once we built the worship place, and we were there for a year, we were not expecting any bills, to tell you the truth. And when we got one as a phone call, I was in complete shock because from my standpoint, it was like, it's my failure to maybe assume a lot. I mean, we have, most of our church people are volunteers in church, including me, including pastor, everybody. Maybe if we had somebody maybe paid on staff and would just review those things regularly, maybe we would have not missed it. Yeah. But the opportunity is missed from our standpoint. My understanding was that we should not be getting a tax bill because of the advisement from tax office, that as soon as you have a worship place there, you should not be paying taxes. We did seek legal advice because we didn't know where to go, and we were told that you gotta go in front of appeals board and just explain yourself what happened. From our standpoint, this was an honest overview, oversight. There was no intent not to pay taxes, we always have. And we have over 500 members and their families that are actively praying for this resolution. We ask that you look at the documentation
We
that
can-
I provided, the use,
Yeah.
and see what you can do from your standpoint.
Let me hear from the county. Well, let me see if members, to begin with, have questions. Mr. Ashcraft, do you have any questions?
Just wait for the county.
Yeah. Let us hear from the county, and then I'll circle back to you and see if you have, in case you have any further comments, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Travis?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Again, so, like he said, 2020, this is about a 2024 application. You do have to submit applications for religious uses. That's per North Carolina state statute. So this application we received for the 2024 tax year on March 25th of 2025. Obviously, it's a late application. It was submitted in a year after it was due. The typical application is due the month of January for the year you're applying for. So in 2024, the application would have, to be considered timely, should have been in by January 31st. The last application you saw, that it was submitted on December 30th of 24, so we were able to bring it to you as a more favorable late application. This one was submitted a year after. You can't really go back retroactive on exemption applications, or really any application. You can't go retroactive. So that's kind of where we're at. The application was submitted to us on March 25th of 25. We sent a denial letter on March 26th of 2025, and we got an appeal on it on April 1st of 2025. So that's why we're here.
Okay. And just so I have this part straight, the new construction was finished in '24,
I think so.
okay? And, yeah, okay. I may ask the taxpayer about that piece, but thank you, Travis. Let me see if any members of the board have questions. Bob, do you have any questions for the county? Jimmy?
You know, not at this moment.
Okay.
Uh,
Mark does, I think.
I think I do. President, you said the appeal was the 24th, and he got it in on the 25th, so therefore the county can't go back for the past taxes?
Right.
That's the rule I don't understand. That's what I'm trying to.
Okay, and I'll chime in, and I had some conversations, some in-depth conversations with Mr. Zushma. Is that your last name? Okay. And I think there was another gentleman that was on the phone with us. I can't remember.
Alex Volk.
Alex, yes. So I spoke with them at length regarding this, and that there was nothing our office could do. That the only avenue they really had, I think we talked about this several times, the only avenue they had was to file an appeal here. But statute does limit the application of exemptions to current year, not prior year. And so our hands are tied. And the duties and responsibilities of the board, there's some limitations there as well. And he's aware that we made him aware of this in the conversations. And so to his credit, they've done everything right. The only thing we missed was there was never an application submitted for the building. And that could have been a misunderstanding, communication. I'm not sure the last time they spoke or who they spoke with in the office at that point. I reiterated that from my standpoint as tax administrator, I understood where they were coming from, felt for them, but my hands were tied. But the statute is clear at this point in time that from a tax office standpoint, the application for exemptions and exclusions has to be for the current year forward, not a prior year. So that's the challenge that we're faced with on this. So that's why they wanted to come to the board and appeal to you all, and kind of go from there.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, they said they bought the land 3-4 years ago, whatever, and because they didn't have a building on it, place of worship, it's not exempt, correct? So it stays there.
That's not typically true, but
I'm glad you brought that part up, because, you know, they used it for other things, but, you know, I have a problem with that, but that's my understanding. And then the construction of the building took place, and it took 3 years to do, okay? And I understand that too. It's not a hard thing to expect, but during those 3 years, they were still being taxed. Is that correct? Because they had no exemption, is that correct? That's correct. So they were taxed for the land for 1 year, and then a third of the building, and then 2/3 of the building, and then 3/3. And I looked on the application, is that $44,000 they owe?
The tax bill, current tax bill for 24 is $44,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, 24?
$44,000. The 2024 tax bill is $44,000.
Yeah.
They've got a beautiful property. I will, it is an absolute great property. When did you start construction? Can you,
21, what?
The permits were pulled, I believe, in 2021. And the clearing and all that stuff, it quickly happened. But then everything, when it comes to beams, it was a nightmare because we went through steel mills that were not able to deliver for like a year. And everything was doubling prices. And we were juggling the decision, what we're gonna do, because the bank is one thing to go to the bank and get the funds. It's another thing to go to the bank and say, hey, it's gonna be double. And we didn't have the double the amount of people that could actually donate. So it was a step in phase and a challenge that we had to overcome. I think it might be the biggest building in the United States that's been built through in a COVID situation with just unsurmountable challenges, to tell you the truth. And when the steel went in and started being erected, it went really quick after that. But until that, it was really, really challenging to start it because of all the COVID things that were happening.
back to your question.
Yes, please, Ken.
We only tax them on the land. We never tax them on any of the building. So even the percent complete, we didn't pick that up at the time. We just left it at the land. But they still never submitted the application prior to this year.
So the land is how many acres?
25.
25
25
acres.
acres?
Yeah.
There
So
is,
land value only for like 3 years
Yes.
is 44,000?
No. The tax bill that's owed is just the 2024 tax bill for the whole property, land and building. For 21, 22, 23, they were still paying just on the land. It was about $1,500 a year.
Okay, and they paid that?
They paid that. They've always paid their land
See, now
taxes.
you're
Yeah.
telling me stuff. That's good.
They've always paid the land
I
taxes.
got you.
Right.
The 2024 bill has the building on it, but they never submitted an
Yeah, so
application.
for
Okay.
2021 to 2024, during the construction phase, they were never assessed an increase for
Right.
Correct.
improvements in process.
Correct.
It's just dealing with 24 and that they didn't apply or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the tax bill for that because it's a very nice building and 25 acres of land.
Yes.
I understand what's going on. Thank you.
And I kind of understand where the hands are tied by statute, you know. There's,
Right, but
yeah.
if we go back just 1 year, we take care of the 24 tax bill. You know, if we pass it
Right,
to
right,
late.
right.
Is that correct?
Or we
That's
can't.
why I-
That would, but there's limitations in statute on
Right, see, our hands are kind of.
So we
tied by
can't do
statute
that.
That's what I want to know. That's,
Because
they
it
apply.
applied in 25 for the 24 year.
They submitted two applications in 25, one for 24, one for 25. 25
25 is fine, yeah, okay.
This is just about 20.
But it's dealing with 2024.
Because they didn't apply for it in 24?
Because they did not apply.
So as he said, the other opponent applied in December the
December.
30th or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to know more about our hands being tied on that.
Well, we can take care of that during deliberation.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm-
Okay.
It goes to the magic date is December 31st. Anything after December 31st, that door's closed.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Just one
We-
comment,
we
if
can
I
cover
may.
that in deliberations. Yeah, I'll circle back to you for any final comments. Okay.
On the 15th of January, when I came back here after that phone call, I applied immediately for 2025 because it's good. For 2024, I couldn't apply because they said it's already late. And I applied it and I submitted as an appeal. As part of the process, we sent in 2 applications for 24. And the one on the 325, I believe, Travis said, that's the one I made personally. I sent it via email, and there was another one submitted, as far as I understand, prior to that. The reason we didn't submit it on the 15th, because they said we can't accept it, it's already too late. So that's why there is 2 months delayment in the 2024, from the day we already realized that
Right.
we need to submit it, so.
Okay.
I got one quick question.
Okay,
I
Mark.
shouldn't ask you more, but here's my question. So when you found out about 24, I mean, the 40-some thousand dollars, we'll just say, was that by a letter or was it by a phone call? or
Phone
were you
call.
Delinquent on
It was
your-
delinquent.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So that
That's
you
what
didn't
he
get
alluded to.
email because y'all were at 2 different places and all that. So now I understand that.
It should still work perfectly because we had a key mailbox that was keyed only to our person that picks up that mail.
But-
And they live right across the street from that church. So it was very convenient for us and them to still pick up all that mail because they can address it next day.
I understand.
If we would have received at least something, I mean, there would be no question, we would just address it right away.
As you did with the phone call that you
Yeah,
got.
absolutely.
Or you thought it was a scam, I would have done the same thing. But
Right.
you did get a phone call, and then that's when you made a move. All right, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Any further
Thank you.
questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, on the, I'm interested to hear from the tax exempt status piece, what is parts of the property not tax exempt even though they're a church?
Yeah, and
So-
probably what I think we can do is take it up in deliberations when we go into deliberations and have all that discussion.
Okay.
And then handle it that way.
No problem, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yeah. Let's maybe call the next,
Hearing,
Thanks, Mayor.
excuse me, hearing number 3, parcel ID number 09327011, Calvary Baptist Church of Monroe. Ms. Debbie?
Good morning.
good morning.
My name is Deborah Fion. I am the office manager and bookkeeper over at Calvary Baptist Church, and I've been on staff there since November of 2019. And there's a packet of information I had given you guys, and on the first page, it's just a letter from Pastor Eddie Price authorizing me to act on behalf of the church on this matter before you today. I've also filed an application for property tax exemption with a letter recognizing that it was filed late, and we're asking for you to consider the application even though it was filed late. And the reasons being is, I'm going to give you a little history here. Calvary owns 2 parcels. Calvary started in 1960, and they had bought the adjoining parcel, which is tax exempt, and the original church building was on that parcel. And it's just one number off. That parcel that they started on was 09327012. They acquired the adjoining 29-plus acre parcel in 1984, and there's a deed for that in your packet. When they did that, Carolyn Moore, who is the church treasurer, actually her husband Tommy Moore is one of the grantees on that deed, she's actually still living, and I had a conversation with her. And she remembers it. She had called, they got their first tax bill in probably 1985. She called the county and said, hey, we're a church. We're tax exempt over here. We just acquired this property. We're using a few acres. And we'd like to file tax exempt status. And she was told that she could not, that it would be denied unless the church was using the entire parcel for church purposes. Well, they were only using a couple of acres out of the 29, so she didn't file. She's never filed. That's 38 years they've paid taxes on this parcel. Since then, they built a new church. Back in 2000, they started the building. In 2002, it was done. If you look, I actually put a picture of it in your packet. It kind of looks like this. You can see, this is the parcel in question. This is the parcel that they had that's tax exempt. And you can actually see the current church building is on both of those parcels. And so also on the parcel in question is the driveway, the parking lot, a playground, a ball field, all used for church purposes. And I included pictures to show you how that property is being used as well. And so they've paid taxes for 38 years on that parcel, even with that activity since 2002 with the new building and so forth. And again, the reason Carolyn didn't file an application was because she accepted what she was told back in 1985 and thought, well, we're not using all of it, so I guess we can't. We have to pay tax. So the other thing that caused confusion, because when I came on staff, I received the tax bills and paid the tax bills. And the description property for that parcel in question actually is Rocky River, has a Rocky River Road address on it. And I've included that in there so you can see in 2021 for that parcel, the legal description was Rocky River Road. And also on the Union County bill, property tax bill, it also says Rocky River Road, which caused confusion for people like me and anybody on staff before me paying these bills going, we thought the church owned property on Rocky River Road and was paying tax on it because they weren't there, you know. The church is located on Lancaster Highway. So that I've come to learn that address is Carolyn Moore's address. That's her home address. She is the contact for the Department of Revenue. So somehow it got confusing to, I don't know who made the error, but it created a lot of confusion for everybody because that is not the property description for this parcel. So we probably could have caught this sooner and filed an application had we had better information. It just got overlooked, it got missed. And so here we are. And so I filed an application for a full exemption of the property. Reason being is I showed you pictures of what they're using the property for, and then there is a wooded area around the area. And I found a case in North Carolina, Graham County, where a mission, they call it a buffer zone, a board just like you in Graham County had granted this mission 100 acres of buffer zone that surrounded their the buildings that they were using for their mission. And I included that in your packet too, to show that there is a buffer zone. And so when you look at both of the parcels together, on the parcel that is tax exempt, there's also a significant amount of woods that's included in that tax exemption around that the property on that one. So what I'm asking is that all of the woods on the adjoining property that is being currently taxed to be considered as a buffer zone. And I'd like to see the church to get a full exemption on this parcel, at the very least, especially since they've been paying taxes for 38 years on it when it was solely and wholly used for religious purposes. I would like to see them get a refund personally, but I may have to talk to somebody else about that. But that's pretty much our case, and that's it.
Okay, let me see if members of the board have any questions. Sven, Bob, do you have any questions? Jimmy? Okay. Mark?
Wait to hear from the county.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're up again, Travis?
Sure.
Okay.
So like she said, parcel has been being taxed. As far as I can find and see, we have never received an application on this parcel. The application deadline again, the month of January for the year you're applying for. They're applying for 25. The application was submitted to us on April 9th of 2025. Obviously, that's not in the month of January, so it was not timely, so we denied it, and that's why we're here.
Okay. Questions?
But what the plaintiff was, speaking about as far as property not being taxed, what do you have to say about that?
Say that one more time?
She was speaking about the property not being taxed all those years, or shouldn't have been taxed. What do you have to say about that?
We typically give what is in use if we have an application on file. So I can't speak to what somebody told her in 1985. I wasn't born. I don't know what someone else may have told her.
I think you just called us all old.
So now we typically give what is in use. In use is being used. So that's, I guess, I don't know if that answers your question.
I think the question today is approving the late application so we can review it. The issues of buffer and those kind of things come through the review process, not the approval of the late application. We'll get into all that with the church as we go through it, but we can't review it until the board agrees to accept the late application. So that's a separate discussion from what we're here for today.
Were you speaking maybe of them paying taxes all those years? Is that?
No,
Versus-
pretty much what I, tax
The buffer,
administrator.
okay.
You know, all of that piece, but so in a sense, we can help this process move along.
The only way we can review this application is if you approve the late application today.
Okay.
That's why it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wise one.
We have a motion. A motion that we approve the late application. Second.
Got a motion second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like
So
sign.
now we can move on.
The motion's carried.
Y'all don't do anything else with this. We'll move on. We'll work through a review with the church as we go
Right.
through and review the property and see what's in use, what may not be, we'll go through that process with the church.
If they
Very-
have
very
any more
closely.
problems, I just need to understand this. If they have any more problems with it, can they come back to us?
If upon approval of whatever decision that the exemption staff makes, if they disagree with that final decision, they can further appeal that exemption back to the board.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Are they,
Yeah.
okay, got you.
Yeah.
She has one more question. I told you I'd circle back to you, so.
How is a church supposed to know that they need to file an application for tax exemption? Are they supposed to be lawyers? Like, do they have to know statutes? Like, because most people that work on staff are just administrative people, like, so.
I think-
I just, how are they notified by the county?
The only thing I can tell you is this, that the individuals founding a church, there should be some kind of legal process involved there, because they've got to file their articles of incorporation, they've got to obtain their nonprofit status. Somebody involved in drafting that language should be informing a church
Okay.
that they should be exempt. Proactively, we cannot proactively look to give people exemptions. Our charge as a tax office is to protect the tax base of the county. We will give everybody everything we can possibly give them. We're very easy and easy to work with from that standpoint. But we can't proactively go out and say, oh, you should be exempt. You need to submit an application. We can't do that as a tax office staff. So the answer to your question is that the legal representatives involved in the forming of the nonprofit,
Okay.
to get the nonprofit status, somebody in that process should be aware of the exemption. Again, 1985, I don't even know who was involved I have an idea, because I think they may have still been here when I first came here 20 years ago.
Okay.
But I cannot speak to who told them what. Again,
Right, I understand that.
it's a tough spot,
Yeah.
and we fully understand. But we have a balancing act that we have to maintain within our statutory obligations.
Okay, I understand.
yeah.
So in this process, with the application being accepted, what would be our next step?
Travis and Brent will be reaching out to you or whoever else is involved at the church to review the property thoroughly.
Okay.
And then we'll have discussions around the idea of buffer and use and those kind of things. What I can tell you is that and we've done this in the past, from a nonprofit standpoint, whether it's a church, educational institution, whatever that may be, we work very closely with people to help them figure out what they can do to qualify, because we understand. There are some things we can't do. We've even had situations with local volunteer fire departments that we could not qualify them. And so it's because they're not part of the government. They're a nonprofit just like anybody else is. And so there's situations where there are things we can help with, and there's things that we can't help with. And so we have to, and that's kind of what plays through the process and the review.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, everybody I've talked to has been very, very nice, and I just want to, say thank you for all that you
Great to
do.
hear.
It is appreciated.
Thank you very much.
And we do appreciate you working with us. So I look forward to contact with you, and thank you very much for
Thank
your
you,
time.
Ms. Bia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we get into the deliberation phase, I might have cut you off a little too quick. You said before we enter that phase, you said
I'm
you had.
good.
You're good. You
Yes.
have any further questions for the county? Okay. I got to thinking about that, and I wondered if
I'm
I.
sorry if I messed you up.
No, I'm talking about the prior case, and Jimmy had some questions. I thought we could take care of it deliberations. Then I was sitting here thinking about it. It might have been better to take care of it when you had the question, so I apologize for that.
No, we're good,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I
All
will,
right, so-
I will add, since we're in deliberations,
Yeah.
based on the rules and procedures of the board, since both parties are still here, if you need clarifying questions, we can,
We can, okay.
you can,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That was what I was sitting here thinking of, if I, you know.
Pastor left, I think, are you pastor?
I'm a president slash administrator.
you would not be able to ask any questions,
Right.
but with both parties
Still here, we can. Okay, okay. So with that, we'll go into the deliberation phase, and that takes us back to hearing 2.
Yes.
Okay? And the Slavic Evangelic Church. So, I think the big issue here is the statute we're dealing with. Yeah.
Yep, pretty
Yeah,
much it.
and I don't, are our hands pretty much tied?
That's the limitations I have.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. It's, yeah,
I mean, here's my question out loud, and this might be for the county, certainly. The fact that it was given to us in 25, we can't go back and do anything to 24, is that correct?
that's, yeah,
Is that what we understand?
right. By statute, we can't do that. I mean, well, the county can't do that.
All right, now you're,
And I
okay, so
think-
does that mean we can do it?
Well,
I mean, because they're gonna have to pay $44,000,
yeah.
but, I mean, that's what I figure.
And then my question being, I mean, in the Mechanics Act, you got that statute in there, are we bound to that? Yeah. Are we- Yeah.
Does anybody know?
Here's what I'll read to you on the statute. And this is under General Statute 105-322. It's the review of
What was that number again?
105-322.
105-322.
It speaks specifically to the County Board of Equalization and Review.
Okay.
And it's review of appeals, listings, evaluations. 105-322G, subsection 1, item C. So your 105-322G1C. The board shall examine and review the tax list of the county for the current year to the end that all taxable property shall be listed on the abstracts and tax records of the county and appraised according to the standards established by 105-283. And that's just the market value standard of property. And then according to the standard required by, and the board shall correct the abstracts and tax records to conform to the provisions of this subchapter. In carrying out its responsibilities under this subdivision G1, the board on its own motion or on sufficient cause shown by any person shall, and if you go down to C, increase or reduce the appraised value of any property that is in the board's opinion has been listed and appraised at a figure that is below or above the appraisal required by 105-283. However, the board shall not change the appraised value of any property from that at which it was appraised for the preceding year, except in accordance with 286 and 287. And those two statutes reference changing the value in a non-reappraisal year due to further construction or changes in the specific aspects of the property. You can't change related to market value. You can't change market conditions, exempt status. It's all got to be in the current year by
That was
statute.
what I was listening for, was the
Yes.
exempt status is included in there.
Yeah, it's all lumped in. There's nothing.
I didn't hear that. I mean,
There's nothing applied retroactively,
Right. Nothing's applied retroactively.
no.
But
So-
in this case, they bought the property, 4 years ago, and since they didn't have a church on it, they had to pay $1,500, just like that. Started construction, did 3 years of it, took that length of time, and they were still only charged $1,500,
Right.
okay? But in '24, when they finished the building, they finally got charged full value because they didn't apply in '24
That's correct.
for this thing, okay? Phone calls, whatever it is, that's right, you know, didn't get the notice, all that kind of stuff. So, and my thought again, I have to say it, can we not disregard that amount? I mean, can we not say, we approve that they're late, for '25, it's the same thing in '24.
Right.
Nobody brought it to our attention in '24, but can we do that? Y'all tell me.
I don't, that's the question.
Well,
I have a hard time not doing it, that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking. But I don't know what.
I think by statute, the statute says you can't apply anything retroactively.
We cannot do it.
uh,
We cannot do it.
Based on this statute.
Well, so I mean,
Okay.
so the avenue form would be. if
From here, and we
deny,
had this conversation on the phone,
Go
that,
to the property tax.
because I advocated for them to come here,
Yeah.
okay? And so what we told them was, you can submit the application, it's late, we're gonna deny it, point blank. There's no questions asked, it's received after after December 31st. Had it been January 1st, we couldn't accept it. But it's received after January 31st. We advised them to appeal to the board. We also advised them they could make their case, we'll have to make ours, and we'll have to adhere to the statute. My advice to them on the phone call was that once they receive, if they receive a denial from this board, once they do, their avenue then is to appeal to the Property Tax Commission.
That's for '24.
That's for 24.
24.
They're fine at 25.
Oh, yeah.
25 is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
It's
good to go.
24.
We're good to go moving forward.
because
This is
it's retro.
strictly for 24, and there was no application received. Again, I feel for them, I do. And I had some very good conversations with the individuals from the church. But we have to follow this regardless of personal opinions, of myself, staff, whatever the case may be. We have to apply the statute as it's written. We can't make law. That's above our pay grade.
Right.
How do we go back on back taxes, roll back on taxes?
Statute requires it.
Statute requires what? We can or can't?
So you're talking about PUV taxes, like rollbacks? Yes, so part of that program is your tax, you're getting about a 90%, as long as you're using that property for what you've applied for, whether it's farm, whether it's horticulture, whether it's forestry. As long as you're maintaining that property for that use, and it's not changing, and you're not selling it to a developer, or whatever the case may be, or somebody that's just not gonna farm it,
Right.
you get that 90, now it's probably 95% reduction in value in the taxable value of the property. But once that property changes hands or the use stops, the value goes to market value for the current year, and you go pick that value up for the last 3. That's in statute.
Okay. I knew that part. I just didn't know if we've ever done that before.
Right.
thinking in my brain it's not.
What, on the exemption application or PUB?
Yeah, like that they did have back taxes or something because it wasn't approved. But I can't remember, so.
You talking about like the first case?
Yeah, the first case, but also this second one. But you read the 105G.
Now, if you want to take, if you want to take a
a
short recess, I'll be glad to go see if one of the attorneys are available. And I can bring one of them down.
And that would help us discover what Mr.
I don't think it
Jackson-
would, I don't think it's not going to change the statute. But, I mean,
All right, you understand what we're going through, so I just wanted you to know we're trying to help you, but it doesn't sound like it's possible.
Just so I understand, is a point of procedure, almost like we have to deny this so we can go on to the next step, so that ultimately.
I can't make that, I'm not a board member, so I can't make that call for you.
Okay.
All I can do is provide you the law and the rules and procedures,
I don't remember us really ever going against statute, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
So I think from what,
and I
Mr.
get it.
Mr.
I mean,
Ashcraft,
I feel for it, I mean,
from Mr. Ashcraft's point of view, I get where he's coming from, but the other statute that would apply there, you're talking about just wiping out the taxes, I think it's 105.3, 81, where's it at? No, it's not 381, it is 105.380. The governing body of a taxing unit, meaning the Board of County Commissioners, but you guys are, this board acts
been
on,
appointed
as a
by-
proxy for that board, as a special board of ENR. The governing body of a taxing unit is prohibited from releasing, refunding, or compromising all or any portion of the taxes levied against any property within its jurisdiction except as expressly provided in the subchapter. The only place that can happen is in the case of a discovery. And we hear those late listing penalties and those kind of things. So that's the only thing. And any tax that has been released, refunded, or compromised in violation of this section may be recovered from any member or members of the governing body who voted for the release, refund, or compromise by civil action instituted by any resident of the taxing unit. So wiping out the tax bill would open you up to potential liability.
Okay.
so, Mr. Chairman,
I think the statute's clear from our standpoint. And I'll have some more conversations with you afterwards regarding our previous conversations. But I think from my perspective, tax office hands are tied. Regardless of what we want to do, our hands are tied. And that's why we're here.
Mr. Chairman, based upon General Statute 105-322, I make a motion that we uphold the county's denial.
okay.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
That's for 24, correct?
Just 24.
Just 24.
24.
25's already been approved.
25's been taken care of.
Thank you.
Further, any discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed, like sign? Okay. So with that, Van, you'll be following up
We'll follow up with the taxpayer.
with them?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And any further business that needs to come before the board?
I think we're good. We don't have anything, do we? Okay.
So while we're here, we don't meet Thursday.
Our next meeting, I think, is April 30th.
April
Yeah,
30th.
we're going to put out a cancellation notice for the meetings between now and then. But we will have our first 2025 appeals evaluation on April 30th.
Right, okay.
Make sure you send us an email on that.
Yeah.
That's correct.
What's that, a
Thanks for all the
Monday?
reminders.
That's a Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll
Okay.
have that Monday and that Wednesday, and the following Monday, Wednesday, so we'll be at those 4 days.
Okay, so no Thursday meetings for those first couple of weeks, okay,
That's some request on the
okay.
And what we're doing, we're just waiting for them to accumulate enough to
Yeah,
make it work.
justified.
April 30th is a Wednesday.
Okay.
Right, so Monday, Wednesday,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
So we have something the 28th for,
No, you don't have anything on 28th.
Yes, so it'll be the 30th.
just the 30th?
Just
Next
30th,
Wednesday,
yes.
yeah. Okay. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
So we're adjourned.